think so.
I think.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, that's twice I had the screen right.
Hey,
We're
there you go.
unmuted. Winning today. All right,
Charlie
get it.
Sheen all over.
Take it where we can get it, right? All right.
Absolutely.
So, we are going to talk about buttonholes, button sewing, how you can
And
use
some
these.
different ways to do that
Yeah.
and different ways to use that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to show it in both sewing and embroidery.
Yeah, sure
So
are.
that is going to be fun.
So, I stopped doing a lot of clothing things, which in turn equals, I never did a lot of buttons. I mean, I
Mhm.
put zippers in, but I didn't do a whole lot of button type things. I did a few, though they were a lot more, probably more decorative,
Mhm.
with a few that I actually
Yeah.
used. I have a super cute outfit, that had buttons on it that I did back in high school, but not a lot of button doing, and
Yeah.
I don't remember if my machine did that. I really don't remember how I
Right.
put those on at that point, but sunny south.
Right.
Way to rub it in, thanks, by the way. I'm just
It's
kidding.
not
It's
sunny
definitely not
here.
sunny here.
Oh,
I
yeah.
told her the same thing. But anyway,
I'll wear another one tomorrow. You won't see me, but I'll wear another one
right.
tomorrow.
So a lot of what I'm doing now with buttons are more decorative, so things that I'm sewing on
Mhm.
as, a
Right.
cherry on top of a
Yeah.
cupcake or, whatever, or, just literally decor type things versus functional buttons. I do have some things that are functional buttons, but not a lot
Yeah.
anymore. I have done decor pillows and had buttons on the back, and that be the
Yeah.
closure.
Yeah.
Um, I only did that a couple of times because then my dogs ate the buttons, and I was like, "Okay,
That
that's
was
not worth my time. We're not gonna do that again." And I couldn't even find the dang buttons. So I was like,
I can tell you where they
I'm
are.
not gonna go search for them either, just in case anybody was wondering." Nope, that didn't happen.
So,
But,
we've
yeah,
had, like, programmable buttonhole options for a really long
we
time on
have.
sewing machines,
Yep.
and different brands do it slightly different. Um, so today we have a couple different ways. If you have an embroidery machine, you can definitely do buttonholes, and you can buy buttonholes.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
some people, and some brands of machines have a buttonhole menu in them. Sometimes you can do your sewing stitches in your embroidery
Mhm.
machine. If I were gonna put buttonholes along the back of a pillow, I would certainly be doing it like this because
Oh, no doubt.
you can make it space
Place them equally
perfect.
and yeah, no muss, no fuss.
Right.
Push go and then we're done.
Exactly. And then with that creation of the 9 square button that is
Yeah,
not called the 9 square button.
I think it should be because that's exactly what
What
it
it
looks
looks like,
like.
makes them
Everybody knows
perfectly
what I'm talking
spaced.
about when I say the 9 square button.
Right. Makes them perfectly spaced.
Absolutely. I mean, heck, I can even say, the 9 square button on Facebook,
Mhm.
if I'm trying to help somebody that
Yeah.
I don't even know who they are, but I'm like,
It
I
looks
can't handle all of the other comments, and
right.
so I finally break down and give
Struggles.
somebody directions in the comment section because I can't handle it anymore,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Hit the 9 square button."
Right. I not that I want people to constantly ask us questions, but, like, I see our people, and they ask questions in those groups, and I wonder why they didn't ask us that
Just
question,
call and
'cause
ask because I can
or
guarantee the answers that you're getting aren't right.
or send us an email or Facebook message us,
Some of those
or
answers out there are so
they're bad.
scary.
Some of the
It's
answers are
just like,
bad,
mm,
and they're bad.
they're bad.
I don't know what else to say, but they're really
There
bad.
is some bad advice out there, guys.
So,
So
if you're
be
ask us
warned.
first.
Be forewarned.
You're welcome to give our answer online. Oh, look, Sam.
Hi!
You were
I
really excited about that.
I know. I drove my mother to the airport this morning. That's why, I was out early this morning. She sent me a text and I haven't had a chance to reply to her, but,
Ah. So we have the embroidery module on. Should we do? I am so oh my
did you
gosh.
just say Scooby Doo?
Yes, that's exactly what I said. So should we do embroidery first?
We should because that's the foot that's on the machine.
That's what I was exactly thinking.
Yep,
Yes.
that's it.
All right. So, we don't have a camera over here. So I'm just gonna physically say what I'm doing. We're gonna go to embroidery, and we have a buttonhole section in our embroidery.
We do.
Um,
It's under the sewing section.
yes, but there's also decorative buttonholes built into some of the embroidery designs as well. So, sewing section, these are our standard, and then we have big buttonholes.
So we are sewing on the Luminaire 3. It
Mhm.
is in menu 5 on the embroidery screen, and then there is 3 separate menus in there. So menu number 1 are all of the different buttonhole shapes and types that you can choose from. So, you know, a really bold rectangle, a skinnier rectangle, yada, yada, yada.
But they're kind of like the traditional ones.
They are absolutely traditional, but then you can get a little bit fancier. But next to that in menu 2 are some cute little things that you can put around said standard buttonhole and make it super cute.
Mhm,
Um, there are really cute things in here. I really do like the butterfly wings. I don't know why. I just think that's darling. I've never put it on anything, but I think
mhm.
that it's a very cute option. There's kind of a little bit more, uh, I don't know, hard. um,
Not cutesy or
it's definitely not cutesy, but it's more wing
yeah.
look. Kind of reminds me of like a tattoo wing
Mhm,
kind of thing. There's lights, there's flowers with vines, all kinds of things that you can put around a buttonhole. And again, you can use this in any manner that you would like to. So there's a lot of options. You would load the buttonhole and then place your design around it
mhm,
to decorate that. So again, those are under menu 5 on the Luminaire, and then you would select menu 1 side of that for the standard buttonholes, and then menu 2 for all of those decor pieces. Um, menu 3 on those are the sewing stitches themselves,
yes,
so nothing to do with buttonholes in particular.
no.
So as far as what we're talking about today, nothing to do with what we're talking about today. So, what you looking for?
I was just looking,
See if there's anything else.
I was just wondering, like
What else can we come up with?
like, could we make those small enough? But probably not.
I don't know. We can try.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's a big buttonhole.
That would be a pretty big buttonhole.
I wonder,
How small can we make that?
right?
Shrinky dink.
Yeah, what would work for, like, a big button?
Yeah.
How small, how short
How?
can we make it?
Yeah. Mhm.
Pick the right buttons here.
So 2 inches tall and just under 1 inch wide.
Yeah,
That's a pretty big buttonhole, though.
it is.
But if you were looking
Like a
for
bag, one
an
of those
opening,
oversized yeah.
and if you were looking for a, leash opening on the back of a jacket
Mhm,
or something like that, you could go into the shapes tool and use that as a, rectangle there as well. So a lot of times I recommend the embroidered buttonholes for
mhm.
those. And what I mean, if you were making like a jacket for your, um I don't think a lot of people walk their cats, but you could do that if you really wanted to, but, for your
I feel like
pooch,
she's judging me.
I'm not judging at all. I'm literally saying if you do that, that's fine.
My
Um,
cat won't walk on a leash.
no,
Mm-mm.
this is why I say don't think most people walk their cat. But if you would like to, please feel free. All I'm saying is if you're making that jacket for your pooch when you go and walk them and you need to be able to attach that harness through, the jacket, you need that little opening on the back of the jacket. Buttonholes would make a perfect.
Mhm,
The problem is your standard buttonholes don't generally get large enough to put a leash clamp through. These would, so you can really get those to be a lot larger. So there's lots of reasons that people can use a buttonhole. We have used literally a buttonhole to use as a opening for a casing for drawstring bags. That is literally what you put in the design. So when you're actually in software, you pull up the buttonhole menu and you add those in. That's exactly what they are buttonholes.
mhm.
So there's multiple times that you can throw something that's not what it's described and definition usage for. You just
Yeah,
make it what you need it to be.
and definitely you can pick when you go to your machine on a Luminaire, when you pick the buttonhole at the bottom, you've got sizes, small,
Yep.
medium, or large. Large is large.
Large is
It was like
large and in charge. It
4
is
inches, and it
absolutely
did
huge.
not go
It
very
doesn't go very
small.
small. It is very,
No.
very large. So what it when you are in the actual buttonhole, system, though, they're much skinnier. So they're very
Yes.
long, but you don't get that inch width
Mhm.
you get a lot skinnier.
Yes,
So you
this
don't
is
have that.
point, it's less than a quarter of an
Less than a
inch,
quarter of an inch.
and it is 1.5 inches tall. Do you know, the only thing that bothers me about this whole thing is that if you rotate your design, I should be able to now make it shorter, but you still have to use this.
Yeah, you rotate it, but you still have to use the
So
width for the height
yeah,
or
it gets
vice
me every
it
time,
it does me too. You're not alone.
every time.
I was doing that you know how long it's been since I've done a lesson? And I was like, "Why is it beeping at me?" It's like, this is
'Cause I wanted to do something. I just
lost the she lost my chair.
oh, it's way down
I
there.
lost my chair. I can't
Oh,
believe I just said
I'm
that.
going under here.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. So why do we have fabric that looks like this? Is this supposed to be my shirt?
Yes,
Look at that. I even knew what it was.
it's pretty good.
So are you impressed? I figured that out. So we have a double fold here, which is supposed to be where your buttons are on your
Mhm,
shirt. Yeah, I figured that all out
mhm.
on my own.
On your own, you're so
Look at that.
smart.
And then we have some mesh.
Yeah, I
So
don't know that that would be
I don't know that
my
that's what I would actually put there, but
it is what
that's
we
what we
had.
had, I'm sure. So, not to mention usable mesh at that. So, but sometimes you gotta use what you can find. So, if you are creating a shirt and you need to add in some buttonholes, again, being able to use a measurement tool to get those exactly spaced evenly. Um, again, we're talking about that lovely 9 square button, which is actually a pattern, uh, repeat. What is that actually called? We looked it up once.
Um,
I
it is
promise I forgot.
the multi-hooping, uh,
Something like that.
icon, yes.
Yeah. 9 square button. That's what it is. Because I said so.
So I put 3 buttonholes in and equally separated them. If you were doing this on an actual shirt, you might actually have some markings on here.
I would absolutely have the markings as to where they need to be. So, really cool thing about the machine that we're sitting in front of is that we can actually project them down so that we can see where they would actually place. Um, you don't have to have that, but when you are doing something like this, these are not super easy to take out.
Mm-mm,
So you certainly it's not something that you would want to,
no.
I'll just, take that out and do it over again if I didn't get it right the first time. You really want to try to get them right the first time.
And we can attempt to project down where they're gonna like, so we can do placement.
Yep.
Sometimes it shows up on the screen, sometimes it does not.
So let's see if that shows up just out of kicks and giggles. Let's see what happens. Do, do, do.
Oh, look at that.
Hot diggity dough. So again, not a tiny buttonhole. We're gonna do 3 of those, huh? This is a very large shirt.
We want really large decorative buttonholes. This is small.
This is size small?
It is.
Yeah.
And then I shrink it as small as it would go. But there's other
There are
buttonhole
other options there,
yes.
yeah. So, but being able to embroider them again, you don't have any room for the, "Oh crap" factor.
Right. We
It
can
didn't do what I meant.
see
So you can see exactly where those are going to be, and we are actually lined up right on the money in between my, the placket here.
it's like I planned it.
It's like you planned it that way, which she actually did, because if you look at the center markings of the hoop, that is where that line happens to be, and it's almost straight.
It's almost straight, yeah, as straight as I
We
could get.
we might not be 100%, but
Right.
it'll be good enough for TV.
We
'Cause
could use our
we're on somebody's TV. I'm sure we're on somebody's TV
we
today.
could use the snowman sticker and straighten it. You want to? So people can see it, why not, right?
Anybody ever, wondered how this thing works? Do, do.
Think I'm close enough to the center?
Hmm. Go for it. All right. So we got a snowman sticker there, and we have it aligned with the edge of the fold there. So we might shift to the left because, of course, then we would completely be off the fabric.
Right,
But for the purpose of your education today,
yep. So I'm in the layout menu.
See, we are on someone's TV today.
And
A TV
I'm
star, kiddo.
touching the, snowman button, okay, to separate the combined border.
Sure, why not?
Sure.
Scan away. So it's gonna take a picture of what we've got in the hoop,
Mhm.
and it's going to look for our snowman. And what it's going to do is go, "Hey, you are, straight, you're not straight," so on and so forth, so that if the edge of that is needing to be adjusted, it will actually make that correction for us. So it looks just a hair to, the left. So out of curiosity, if you hit the rotate button,
I was point 0.4
point
degrees.
4 degrees off. That's
Yep,
pretty good.
that's pretty good, and now we have to scooch it back to the to
And
that
now
way.
we need to scooch it left because it's gonna literally stitch right there. So, now you guys can see where that's at, but, there's a fuzz in there again. So there we are. So
Yep,
now, it will
bring it back
actually
in the
be
center-ish.
ish enough. So that is how the snowman sticker works, is it will take, a picture of what's in your hoop, and then if you're
If you were a really sloppy hooper like I was.
super sloppy, I mean, point 4 degrees off, God forbid, but sometimes that I
It could
mean,
matter,
if it would matter on this type of a project, you
right,
would certainly notice it on
yes,
if your button started veering off
especially
to the
these
left.
giant
These if your buttons were veering off to the left, it would most certainly start to show,
right.
no question about it. So, all we have to do, is thread the needle.
I always wanna start it without the needle threaded.
You might do that every now and then hit go, and lo and behold, it will start to stitch
Yes,
our tiny little buttonholes.
yes, but look at their how easy they can see them at
This has been, I don't know, enlarged for your viewing pleasure.
yeah,
No,
buttonholes may appear larger on your screen.
all right,
You gonna show them the pin trick?
yeah,
You need a pin?
I do.
I won't even poke you.
Oh, thank you. Very kind.
Feels like there might be something on the bottom of that. Did that just go through? Okay. One.
One buttonhole, two. So you can make these different colors if you want to, because it stops in between evidently. Bunch of little snap stitches. So this is actually super close to what it would do if it were sewing them.
Yep.
It would go back and
Except for
then
the fabric stays straight.
and except for your fabric's not doing any shifting or puckering or
It's
you know,
perfect.
movement at all. Exactly what you want it to do. So again, these type of um, stitches in the embroidery hoop would be perfect for those decorative buttons and for
Like a bag. Like you said, if you were doing this like on a drawstring,
yep,
something, or you wanted to put a purse handle in there and have
yep,
that be the decoration on the outside, it'd be great.
absolutely, absolutely, all kinds of uses.
I mean, if you have software, creating a buttonhole is pretty simple too. So you can create your own
Yeah,
size.
it's kind of scary. There's this thing called a buttonhole button.
Yeah,
You click on it, and it creates a buttonhole.
it's kind of crazy. Yeah, software will do that. It's super easy.
One
Um,
of those auto things
and
that
people make fancy embroidered buttonholes like with like
they do.
Sesame Street characters around them. There's some super cute ones out there.
There are kind of like peeking off to the side kind of
Mm-hmm.
things of decoration. So that is literally perfect buttonholes. We do absolutely nothing to make happen except for show.
Right.
So buttonholes are
Yeah, between the
sometimes a challenge, sure,
might be
to
easier.
make uh,
Cut the buttonhole
an actual hole.
hole.
So this part was easy, right?
Yeah.
But if you've done all of this work, you've got your project all completed, and then you go to cut inside of here and you cut past the end of the buttonhole. not only have you ruined the buttonhole, you may have ruined your entire project because now you have to somehow sew that up and not have this big oops in there. So having a way to prevent that from happening is always a good idea. So you can see we've got stops at the beginning and the end of our hole. All I have here is a standard straight pin. I'm going to put that at the top of my buttonhole. I still have it in the hoop, so it's super tight. So you can see I've got that just across the top there. All I need to do now is take a standard seam ripper. There's nothing spectacular about this guy. And I'm gonna just stab at the lowest point of my buttonhole, and I'm just gonna go right into the fabric there. Can I see that okay?
Mhm.
Alright, and from here, I'm still gonna be careful. I'm not gonna, all willy-nilly go crazy or anything. But I'm just going to push up. But what I can't do is go past, no matter even how hard I try, I can't go past that pin. So I have put a break in so I can't accidentally ruin what I just did.
Right.
So I have never opened a buttonhole since I found out about that without putting a pin in there because I
Mhm.
have ripped past one before, and
Yeah,
it's a very sad moment.
it is because typically this is one of the last things that
This
you
is
do.
right, you've, like, oopsed your whole project because this is, like, one of those final things.
Mhm.
So, we definitely don't like to have those oopses. You certainly can go in and clean up any of the little fuzz, that you get from those. A lot of people do like to put a little bit of fray check or something in a
Mhm.
buttonhole, but, they tend to work their own way out. I don't usually like to put a whole bunch of stuff in there, but, you can flip them out. I will do that,
Mhm.
but I don't usually like to add too much stuff in there because you have stitches,
Yep.
so it's not gonna go anywhere.
Right.
So, I find that most of those little fuzz, I take out anything that's immediately there, and they kinda work their own way out.
Did you make us a witch's hat?
Okay, so, that is using the embroidery, in the hoop.
Yes.
Using the 9 square to multiply them out and space them out equally so you can
Yes.
see that we have exactly the same, maybe you can't tell, but those are literally the exact same spacing between each buttonhole. That is what that 9 square button also allows you to do,
Mm.
and how simple that was.
Right?
Literally hit the go button,
Yes.
and it happens magically.
It was magic.
It was magic. So there you go. That is embroidered buttonholes.
Buttholes. Yes.
Woohoo
Woohoo.
is right. What are we supposed to do with this?
I think it's for the top, to cover. It's for your top.
It's for my pop.
All right.
My
So,
mouth needs that cover now.
super duper easy buttonholes in the embroidery machine.
Absolutely. So there you go.
So, sewing buttonholes are pretty much the same, just different, right?
I can't do it. I can make faces, but I can't.
Oof, is there a tool?
I thought there was one up here. Oh, I got it. Yep, maybe she's hiding.
Okay. Um, Sewing buttonholes are very similar because we have a foot that does a lot of the same. So we have buttonhole menus on our machines. If you have a computerized machine, you will have technically you probably will have a buttonhole menu to almost all of them do. If you have a sewing only machine that maybe doesn't have a big touch screen, you might not have an entire menu of buttonholes, but you will likely to have one or two buttonholes, if not more. So we have standard buttonholes, we have keyhole buttonholes, we have leather buttonholes.
Got
Um,
lots of different
yeah,
types.
there's corded buttonholes. Um, is there any other buttonhole? Am I
Probably.
forgetting something?
Probably, but you covered a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a variety of different shapes, and then there's manual buttonholes as well. So, a manual buttonhole would mean, like, maybe, your button that you have is large, like, it would need to be the size that we made in the
In the
embroidery
embroidery,
machine,
but you don't want to do it in embroidery.
but you're or you don't have an embroidery
Right.
machine to do that, and your buttonhole that is programmable doesn't go
It's not playing nicely for that. It
right, it
won't go
doesn't
that
go that
large.
large.
Yep.
So we're on the Luminaire, and the Luminaire has the largest
It does.
programmable buttonhole of
It's
all of our
it is
machines.
wicked large.
You wanna show this a couple different
So
feet underneath the camera over there?
this, let's start with the standards. So if you have a, um, NQ or a, PS, machine, so you have like an 8.3-inch throat, um,
Right, or one of the
um,
ones that has names,
it's got, let me think,
Catherine,
Presto,
Presto,
Catherine, Lyric, Soprano,
yeah,
I'm missing something, Brilliant,
mhm,
um, any of that range, so 500, 700, 900, 950, 1350, 1300,
mhm,
550, any of those ranges. This is the foot that you got, with your machine. They all work about the same. You've got a little guy in the back, you push that out, you pop your button in the back, you close that, it hangs onto your button, and that tells the machine how big of a button hole needs to be made for that button.
those are like the bumpers.
Those are the bumpers. Those are exactly what they are. And the machine doesn't work if you don't remember to put the little doodad in there that goes in between the bumpers.
Yes,
That's how those work. This is the plastic buttonhole foot.
mhm,
It is still called the A, which is embossed, into the front of this. I don't know if you guys can see that, depending upon how the light is hitting,
yeah,
but it is embossed on the foot right there. Then there is, when we get into the larger machines, it looks exactly the same, but they put a little bit of metal in there. And if you have an 11 1/4 inch throat machine, this is the foot that you got. It does the exact same thing. You've got your bumper that slides back. You take a button and you slide it in the back there and close that, and lo and behold, you get a different size buttonhole that needs to be made, and then that's what that looks like. So you can see that we have a limited size that can be made. There's a point where that doesn't slide back any farther. Okay? So this is what we had until what,
yeah,
4-ish years
years
ago.
ago,
This was the largest sewing buttonhole we could do that was a programmable buttonhole.
mhm,
And then the Luminaire came
and the Solaris.
and the Solaris came, and it came with the A plus foot. So this is that little guy. I mean, big guy. And you can see the difference. It is absolutely insane. So not only is it larger, it actually works in reverse. So notice, maybe you can't tell from here, there's no bumpers. There's actually little dots on here. So this works with the camera in the projection feature. It actually looks at the dots that are on that. So you put your button up front and close that, and it looks at those black dots that are right there around the button, and that's what tells the machine how large to make your buttonhole. This did come with a piece that will take your fabric, and clamp it. So once you have that fabric in between there, it actually gives you a clamp to put and keep your fabric nice and flat, because we're working with such large areas. You wanna make sure that your fabric isn't shifting and moving around. That's how large of an area we're talking about the possibility of working with is. So this is the A plus foot, versus the A's that we had prior to. So now we're gonna show you about sewing
Do you
some.
want to tell them about the little notch in the front,
I
which
can
is
do that.
for their cording, if they wanna make a corded buttonhole, that they all have that little notch.
Yep. So,
Here's a little piece of cording,
yep,
so you can well,
there
there we go.
is so there's this tiny little knot on all of these. I don't know if do I have
There we go.
so there is this little guy right there that we can connect, and they all have that, including that guy there. So we can attach cording to the knot. I would say this is something I really do very much of. Is that what you do? No?
No, but it's kind of a cool feature, if you especially when you have a machine that's not super fancy, yeah, under and then connect to the top around it. Yep, and then just, like, circle it around, and that's what holds it in place.
Yep. It's just been a long time. So we've
Or you
got,
can do it the opposite way, it doesn't really matter.
yeah, either doesn't, you're right, doesn't matter.
No.
You can go back and pull it towards you. That's probably easier. So connecting a corded. So what that basically do is give you
It's like a
a
fuller.
raised and a more full stitch
Mhm.
in your, let me put fabric underneath there so you can see that.
It also is kind of like a security stitch,
Yep.
so, it will give you a little bit more oomph. Will that luminaire foot fit on the Dream Machine? It will
No,
fit on
it
the Dream
can't read it.
Machine, but it won't be able to read it because there are no bumpers, and your Dream Machine
Requires
needs
a bump.
the bumpers in order to work.
Dun, da, da, da.
Yeah. So, that is what that little notch is on the edges of your buttonhole feet. It will allow you to do corded
All
buttonholes.
right. So let's sew a little bit. So let's sew.
So we won't have um, a the lever to pull down because we're sitting on the luminaire.
So on every other machine, there is a buttonhole lever. So if you have one of these, you would attach it like so, by just lowering your foot onto the your ankle, excuse me, onto the foot, and you'll get your side that's going to go right here. And then you're going to reach up right about there, and you're going to grab this little plastic lever. I think they're all plastic.
Mhm. I
And
think
you're going
most
to
of them
pull it
are.
down, and it's going to rest right behind
Yeah.
this front bumper, whether it is the plastic bumper or the metal bumper, it doesn't matter, but you're gonna pull that lever down and it's gonna sit right there, and it has to be behind the bumper. It can't be in front of the bumper or it won't work. It has to be down or the machine will not start.
Right.
So if you forget to pull that down and, you have your buttonhole selected on screen, your machine will not start. It's gonna have a red circle on the machine and it just won't sew. And it will tell you if you push your red button, it'll say, as long as you have codes
Mhm.
being readable, if it just gives you an error number and you go look up the error, it will tell you in the book to pull your buttonhole lever down.
Down.
So that's what that will tell you. And you'll just pull that down and it needs to rest there. And so what happens as it's sewing, this foot will come forward. And when it bumps that back one, it tells the machine, okay, we've gone back as far as we're supposed to go. And it then turns around and goes back the other way. So it bounces between those two bumpers.
Mhm.
That's literally how that works. It works very well, but you have to have that bumper down there.
Mhm.
That is the only way that it will work. And that is how that is attached and then pulled down and connected. So
Do we wanna we have black, embroidery thread, and they can see that pretty good, or I brought gray sewing thread. Do you
I
have
think
a preference? Okay, we'll
don't
just leave that
I
in there?
think we're good.
Alright.
Yeah. I just got it out of the way. We'll need to rethread the needle.
Okay.
I just moved it to, um, all right. So, well, hello,
Oh, yeah, light. Let
let
there
there
be
be.
light. Okay.
All right. So this is just a random. I had that purple button up here. Just a random amount there.
Mhm. Marge is asking, yes, your Dream Machine can make buttonholes in the embroidery machine too, because it
Absolutely.
has the sewing icon or the sewing screen, it's sort of built in there, so you just find that and they should be in there. But if you have a machine or that's not a buttonhole that you want, you can find, buttonholes are a thing. That's an embroidery design that you can purchase,
Yep,
and people make them,
they do.
or you can use software. So yes, you absolutely can do that on your
The
dream
Dream Machine
machine too.
absolutely has them, and you would find those again underneath the sewing stitches menu.
Yep, and we have a couple different, buttonhole styles. So, we'll sew a couple different buttonholes
Yeah.
because then you can see how they stitch out. One of the weird things about sewing buttonholes that I didn't really understand at first when I started doing buttonholes was how important the direction that it sews your satin
Yep.
stitching in is. Most machines that have a programmable buttonhole, they will sew the 2 side seams going in the same direction, whether it be backwards or forward. They will sew them going in the same direction as opposed to going backwards with the satin stitch and then coming forward on a satin stitch. So that's a thing that's pretty common, but is sometimes weird when you're looking at it. So, we have our we must have our foot down. I'm like, we don't have a red we have a red button. I plugged in the foot
Ah,
controller. Do you want me to
okay.
unplug it?
It
Because
doesn't matter.
I'm thinking it's buttonhole, so it doesn't matter.
Nope, I can.
The thing about a programmable buttonhole is it's super important that if you put your foot on the pedal, that you actually don't take your foot off of
Off
the
the pedal
pedal
until it's
until
done.
it's done sewing. Let it complete it will complete it and stop sewing.
Yep, so you can just leave it all the way down.
Mhm,
Don't try to guess when it's finished, just leave your foot on there, it will stop on its own, it won't,
mhm.
like, start again.
'Cause it won't be done when you think it's done.
No, probably not. So, again, I just have a random,
Buttonhole and
buttonhole
it does
size.
not like that you're covering the
No,
hole.
um, and and, they can't see the front of the machine here, but for any of you who have a Luminaire or a Solaris, if you cover any of the black dots that I showed you on the other camera, it won't work. So those dots have to be visible to the machine or it won't run the buttonhole. This is extremely, it's extremely important. So Sarah's gonna pull up her phone camera so you guys can see the front of it while it's doing that, and I will mess with the camera while it's stitching. But I'm gonna go ahead and let it run this one, and then we'll do another one. So
Yep.
I'm just gonna hit the foot pedal and let it get started. So it did a little bit of undersewing. It's doing its zigzag thing. And now it's just doing a running stitch to come back up to the top. All right, so my foot is still holding down the pedal, but it stopped all the way on its own. So I'm gonna now release the foot pedal and we're gonna hit the scissors and it will then raise everything up and the foot you saw shoots back all on its own. So I can pull that out and you can see I have a very nice buttonhole all on its own. We didn't have to do anything there. So the machine does that nice and easy. Doing all right? Oh, you're getting
I
the sound off?
think I have to trick it to think the sound is off. Yep.
Gotcha. So buttonholes are super easy, as we were saying, and notice that it starts at the front and then sews to the back. So that's another thing that you want to make sure when you're sewing is that you're starting in the right position. So on the foot, when you are lining everything up in your project, wherever that happens to be. You have a center line here, and then you have red lines on the left and the right to make sure that you are lined up. That is going to be where you need the front to be of your buttonhole. So you have a center line and you have a start point. That's going to be very, very important. So that's going to be in this position here, this guy right here, that front line literally at the front of the buttonhole. So wherever you are lining up your buttonhole in your project, whether it be a pair of pants or going down the placket of a shirt, whatever it happens to be, that's where you're lining up those red lines that are here is to be right into that center place there. Do we want to have a different buttonhole this time?
Sure. How about this one?
Alrighty. So I am going to make this one a little bit bigger. All right.
There we go. Not right.
Headphones are plugged in. You can't do that. Can you? Okay. We're gonna do one more, and Sarah's trying to get the phone connected without an echoing sound there. So I apologize. We're gonna basically just show you a different type. This one is wine. It's a wine. It's not a wine. I can't seem to just speak. It is a wide, round-ended. So it's going to have a straight line at the top, but a rounded at the base. So here we go. We're just going to do that. Yeah, except I'm hitting the start stop button and I need to hit the foot pedal. So old habits die hard. As I said before, this is larger than the first one. I opened up the button position a little bit more.
Nope, not the right one. I do not have the right. Lord knows where it is in this
That's all right.
super.
No worries.
Do I have one in my desk? Nope.
And it wasn't in there.
Oh, I didn't check there. I checked every place else.
All right. So again, I'm taking the foot off the pedal now. What's that little white one right there?
Yep, that's it. Thank you. Good job.
All right. So here is the second die. We can see the rounded end, and just by changing the front edge there, we've got quite a bit larger. So we can go pretty large on that whole. Um, that that's pretty close. So again, this is the smaller size embroidered, just so that you guys can compare. Um, this is not yet as large as we can go with sewing, but you can see where we are size-wise. All righty. So Sarah is almost there. I am going to slide this over one more time, and I'm going to open up the size to as large as possible here. And we've got one more camera coming in. We're going to swap so that you guys can see what's going to happen in the front here. So this is what this looks like up front. We've got a green button because everything is ready to go. But what's really funny, I mean, I think this is absolutely hilarious. If I cover even one of these black dots, my button turns red. So this, I have no idea how it's seen this far out. That's what kills me about this whole thing. And when we first did this, I even sat down with Tony and we were playing with this. We're like, how is this working? It's just, it's so odd. If you cover any of these buttons, not buttons, any of these spots, it will not work. It has to see where those are so that it knows how large to make the buttonhole and when to start and stop
Mhm.
and when to change direction.
Yep.
So very important that you leave all of that visible. You can't cover it up with anything else. It has to have a full range. Even fabric or something else. It's not necessarily you. Everything needs to be clear there for that to work. So, and if it's all of a sudden stopped working, you probably
Probably
you
covered.
probably just, slowly went over top of it or something and it stopped.
Yep. And so to clarify, this is a Luminaire or a Solaris
Yes, with
um,
the 8 plus foot
foot.
using these beautiful little black dots. And now I am as large as we can possibly get on this guy here. I don't have the guide on for keeping our fabric in position, but we've got stabilizer and other stuff happening here, but you certainly can do that on whatever your project is. All right, I'm gonna hit, the gas pedal, and here we go. We didn't change the stitch this time, so
Provides different perspective. Yep. Just made it larger.
I just made it larger. All right, again, foot is still down. I'm gonna release that and hit scissors up here and shoots the foot back. That's a pretty darn large sewing buttonhole.
Mhm.
So just for kicks, let's put that right up next to this is the smallest it would go in embroidery, is that correct? And this is the largest it will go in sewing on the green.
Yep.
So there you go.
There you go. So much fun. Okay.
So, again, opening those, I would do that the same way. Put the pin in the end, drop my seam ripper at the base, and then slide that all the way up to the top. So that would not change, no matter what I was doing. So, the other thing is the wonderful actual attachment of the button stitch.
Yes.
So, it's funny how many people don't even know that they have a foot that does that.
True. True.
We come across that all the time. Wait,
Yep.
wait, my machine puts buttons on
It
things?
sure
It
does.
surely does. So, what you can do is attach this cute little guy, and there is one other foot in some of these lower entry-level machines that looks a little different. It's got a little blue claw-like,
Mhm.
rubberized tip that just holds on to your button, but this guy, you literally put your button in, there's a little clamp area here underneath. You can see that, I think. Opens up there. You slide the button in like yay. Can you guys see that?
Mhm.
Okay. And up on top, you've got a little area there that you center the holes between that little guide there and where the red dots are at. So that
Mhm.
is how you align that. This guy here has this little slide, and you can push that forward or pull that back. And what that gives you is a little bit of loft for the thread where it's attaching the button. So if you're actually going to use this button, like needing to put it through a buttonhole, you want to have a little bit of loft. So you want there to be a little extra space so that the button has room for fabric to go underneath when it gets to wherever its home is going to be.
Mhm.
If you're only using it as decoration, you probably don't want it bouncing around, so you
Right.
want it to be nice and flat. So if it's going to be used as an actual button in a buttonhole, you want this guy here pushed forward so that there's extra loft there. If you're using it just as decoration, you slide it back so it's going to be sewn nice, tight, and no extra thread in there.
Mhm.
So it's a nice feature on there. A lot of people didn't know what that was for either. I run into that a lot at events when we're putting them on as decoration.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Okay, slide your piece back," and they're like, "What?" So make sure that you have, that in the position that you actually want it. So sometimes I find that that whole foot is just in my way.
Mhm.
Um, I got yelled at for saying this once upon a time, but I'm gonna do it anyways. What do you think?
On live TV.
On yes, on live. I'm gonna tell you anyways. So the foot is a wonderful foot, but sometimes there's just no space wherever it is that you're going. And so sometimes I will just use the ankle. And so I don't usually just drop using the mechanics of the foot
Mhm.
and the power of the machine to do it. So I will put the foot down first and then lift it gently with my hand and set it down gently. So I don't use the motor to
Mhm.
drop the foot on my button because sometimes buttons break super easy.
Mhm.
So I don't like to do that. And then the next thing that I do is I reach over to my hand wheel and I walk the steps of the stitch and make sure that I am lined up
Both left and
with
right
the left and the right hole.
and front and back.
And exactly. So making sure that I am not too far forward, not too far back, so on and so forth. There are some buttons that the holes are the right distance apart, but the button's just not large enough for any of this to work.
Right.
Unfortunately, those are usually decorative buttons, and I just glue
Them.
those on. So, if nothing is going to be able to hold on to it, it's probably just not going to work.
Mhm.
But I absolutely love, using this stitch to attach buttons, um, because you all know how much I love to hand sew.
Right.
I don't do it, is really where it boils down
Yeah.
to.
Fun fact, buttonhole, they're
There's
universal.
they're a universal size between this hole and this hole
Yep.
here, um, to Um, any standard button has a standard size button holes
Yep.
that are on it. So even when you get into that one, um, just because this button is larger than this button, the holes are the same distance apart. So when you select your button tack down sewing stitch, that right and left position, there it's going to be correct.
Mhm.
What is not going to be correct is, when you have 4 holes and you try to do the diagonal.
Right.
That's a different one. That's more like, generally like 4.5 instead of 3.5.
Mhm.
Um, I find that that's usually 4.5 usually works pretty well on the diagonal, and I like making an X in those
Mhm.
or a plus depending on how you wanna look at it.
Right.
I like that better than doing 2 like an equal sign. I don't particularly like the way that looks. I like
Mhm.
the X. I think that's more traditional and it looks better anyways. But your traditional sewing stitch, you will have to make an adjustment to make that work.
Yes, and some people have that option and
And
some
some people
people do
don't.
not.
So it
So
does depend on your machine. Um, it's all kinds of things I've learned since I started working here. Um, 1, I never knew that my machine could put buttons on. 2, I didn't know this whole universal sewing thing
right.
on the whole button. So, it is very, very easy. So once you know that your needles are in the right position, then you can hit go or hit your gas pedal and let so we're good, yep.
Mhm.
So once you're good, if it's not good, then just shift a little bit right or left and then hit the gas and it sews it. Now, how many times does that happen to you? Unfortunately, a whole lot.
Yeah.
So if you notice, nothing actually happened. That's not the one I meant to hit. So, what happened is our bobbin thread didn't actually catch. And I've actually had this conversation with Mary, and I'm like, I bet she's going, yep, I know that's happened to me. So a lot of times what I do is I will bring up the bobbin thread and get that started if I'm having an issue. And then I will hold those threads off to the side. If for some reason it's wanting to um, be a little bit of a pain, I will hold those threads off. Um, and I'm gonna see if I can get something that I can keep my hands out of the camera and still do that. So if I'm holding those threads, that means that they can't fall back in, and then I should be able to get a stitch that holds. And you can see that it lifts and ties in so that I don't have to make a knot. The machine has programmed a knot already into that stitch, which means I can then lift and I'm ready to go. And then I just need to cut those. Sorry, there we go. I just need to cut those flyaways on the top there. Super simple. And I am ready to. I had those snips here earlier. Where did I hide them?
I don't know.
They're probably under a piece of fabric. So super easy.
So we have said to people before, you can like tack your quilt down. Like if you did a Kimberbell quilt
Yep,
and you pre-quilted, you still need to attach the backing fabric to the front.
yep.
You can use this bar tack as the thing that you put in miscellaneous places, and you can go ahead and you can, you know, uh, sew that down so that it's super easy.
So that's not what we did on this because I suck for somebody else into doing it for me. But I
So,
probably would have done that here. I would have just, could have just
uh-huh,
done a button tack down stitch in white thread in these corner spots, especially because this is so small,
right.
um, versus stitching in the ditch when you have that pre-quilting done. So
Mhm,
this stitch is super versatile. If you have other crazy attachments and embellishments,
mhm,
string,
mhm,
I have attached bows and strings and
mhm,
ribbons and all kinds of things using this button tack down stitch. I mean, this is like my go-to because I don't do hand sewing.
right.
So if my machine can't do it,
I'm
it's
not doing it.
and I can't talk Hayden into doing it, it doesn't get put on because
Yep.
I just really don't do that kind
Uh,
of thing.
so Carolyn has a question, and her question is it possible to put a toothpick under the button to make a shank? No. If you put a toothpick under the button, then the button itself will rot.
Yep.
However, you could probably put it on top of the button and let it
Let
stitch
it stitch
back
over it.
and forth, which would be like using that. Keep
I
in
mean, you
mind.
could also do
Exactly. So, oops, sorry. Let me switch back over there. You could do something like Lisa is doing here. So you're on top because then when it
this
goes,
is where you need that loft so that then the button can lift. So you just need to have your threads here have a little bit of give.
mhm,
So if before it's stitched, if I had my stiletto sitting there when it's stitched, it would have a extra piece of thread there.
yeah,
So I could very easily have that there.
mhm,
This is basically the same as a toothpick. So
right.
that would absolutely work.
It's just
But
like
you wouldn't
having the
want it
foot.
under because then the whole button would shift. So you would probably end up snapping your button and your needle
Mhm,
because it wouldn't be flat and nothing would end up where you were intending for it to go,
right.
unfortunately. But you could sit there and just keep
And then you would just be able to pull the button up,
the
and then
butt.
you could wrap around underneath it for the shank.
Yep.
I think,
Hopefully that made sense.
yes. All right. So,
So yes, button tack down and button hole sewing is super easy. Our machines have come so far in what they have figured out and made the ability to do
right.
that it is just such a wonderful thing. And
Unlike, like, the original, like, the singer ones where the thing just went like this to do the buttonhole. Yeah,
yeah,
they've come a long
it's funny because I had never sewn a four-step buttonhole before I started working here,
way.
and
Mhm.
so I'm like they were like, "Okay, I need you to do a lesson on this machine." I'm like, "Okay, you need to give me a lesson on this machine." Yeah, I can't teach somebody else until you teach me. And so learned how to do a
Yeah.
four-step.
Mhm.
So it's not hard. I just had no idea what it was because I had
Yes.
never had a machine that I had to do that. So, they have done so many things, but sometimes have that four-step where you can manipulate what you want it to do is it's nice to be able to have that control. So it's a wonderful it's nice to have that option, which they did put the 4 steps in the Luminaire,
Mhm.
which is kinda cool. So
Yeah.
you do have the ability to literally say, "Nope, this is what I want it to do. I want it to go this far,"
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So
Yep. So if you can't
very
get it
cool.
in the embroidery module and you can't make it big
You
girl.
can you can sew it specifically how you want it to go.
Apparently, I'm boring myself over here.
I'm so sorry. I thought we were doing pretty good,
We
but
were doing really good. I should
there
finish
you
my
go.
coffee at 4:30.
At
Totally. That's
4:30,
why I
yes.
can't sleep at night, right?
Probably why you have trouble sleeping at night.
Oh.
So it is 4:30. If you have any other questions, we're certainly happy to answer them.
Mhm.
But it is time for us to skedaddle and
Yep.
see y'all on another day.
Thanks for
Um,
hanging out with us, talking
don't
buttonholes.
forget that we have an event on Friday. It starts at noon Eastern time,
Mhm.
11 Central. Um, it
We
is
will.
it's called Fusion Fix, and it
Yes.
is where crafting and embroidery collide. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So, some of the stuff that we already do, but probably in some new mannerisms that we might not have thought of yet.
Yes.
So super excited. I love everything that Ashley does.
Sam
So,
said B said button a lot.
yep,
Yeah, we love Ashley, and we'll send out an email with the live link.
we absolutely will.
We
You
will
bet.
send that out about a half an hour to an hour before the event starts,
Yep.
in case you cannot find your email. We will send that out to everyone on our email list, and I will try to put that link onto our Facebook page in case you are not on our email
Yep,
list.
and if you haven't signed up and you would like to, um, you can find that on our calendar. We just sent an email out yesterday that had a sign up link in that. If you haven't clicked on that email yet, you can find it in there.
It's also
And
on Facebook,
it is also on Facebook. So it's
and
at a
we have
lot of
links on
places that you
Facebook.
can find the registration link, but you don't have to be registered to watch it. You can just click on the live link as well. So please join us. It's going to be fun. We love to listen to Ashley. She's so creative and has so many wonderful, fun things, and she's always got some new idea.
She does.
So she always makes me want to go home and sew. And then I have to sit here for
We
hours.
should have it at the end of the day.
We really should, because I'm always like, I want to go home
We
after.
should plan this better.
So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time. Um, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Mm,
All right.
nope.
Till next time. Happy stitching. Bye.
Bye.